Hi everyone. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'd like to share with you about how narcissistic parents and the many bizarre ways that they expect that we owe them. I've been working with family members of narcissistic families who are working to get that family out of themselves, and many who have grown up in toxic families and learning how to get their family out of them. Often, narcissistic parents will guilt and shame you in the most bizarre ways for the most bizarre things. And that has become normalized to us. That programming has become acceptable, reasonable, normal. And that's because of the emotional location that we had in that family system growing up, and how we may continue in that emotional location even as adults. For example, they will expect you to feel guilty and shame for giving birth to you. You're going to treat your mother this way when I was the one who gave you birth, one narcissistic parent may share. And we could calmly say, well, Mom, that was your choice, not mine. And move on to other things if we need to do that. But we may be thinking, I wasn't waiting out there in the universe to ambush you and make your life miserable. And again, this kind of self-differentiation and change of thoughts can help us shift our emotional location. And then their nonsense has a less impact on us. Another way that, again, for giving us birth, that we should owe them or feel shame or guilt, I didn't want to have children. You were a mistake. Well, Mom, I just love that mistake that you had. Or, I don't regret your mistake at all. And again, who am I focusing on? I'm focusing on me, differentiating myself from the narcissistic parent. Now, they won't like that. I understand that, because they're making these statements to keep you chained into the narcissistic family way of thinking, feeling, being aware of yourself and aware of the world around you. Another way and another thing they may use to have you owe them, remember, you're going to have to take care of me when I get older. I paid for half of that college for you and half of that college degree. That's why I wanted you to go to college. Oh, and I've had narcissistic parents clearly say, you absolutely owe me to take care of me as an elderly parent of yours, because of this I paid for, that I paid for. I fed you, I clothed you, I paid for some of your college, or some might even say I paid for all your college. It's interesting, there are even some I've heard say they paid for all their college, when really all they contributed was $2,000 to a $50,000, college debt. And, Dad may say, you remember, you have to take care of me because I paid for that college debt. Sorry, Dad, your investment just may not pay off. And while we can be thinking, I don't remember signing that agreement, the more calm you feel and the less anxiety you feel, you can say what I suggest you say. You can also say what I suggest you think, because the more calmness, neutrality, and non-reactivity we have, the more we can say and get away with it. And with narcissistic parents, whether you get away with it or not, it's still true. But, I don't remember signing that agreement with you, Dad. I didn't know that was the deal. And in fact, Mom and Dad, when you raised me, clothed me, sent me to school, I didn't know that was the agreement that we had. I didn't ever see a promissory note. And in fact, most of my friends don't have those promissory notes with their parents. So I'm not sure I'm not sure that I understand your thinking. Another example, Mom may say, let your brother borrow your car this weekend. Well, I'd rather not, Mom. He's not really a great insurance risk, and not really all that responsible, so I'm not comfortable loaning him my car. You got to drive our cars before we bought you your first crappy car, if you remember. I do remember. I did get to uh, use your cars, and you let me do that, as I think any parent may let them do before their child is old enough to afford and buy a car. Thanks for helping me back then, but I'd rather not let Nathan drive my car. Oh, you're just so selfish. Well, sometimes I have to be. And sorry, you don't see my point. And I may be thinking, sometimes with this family, I definitely need to be selfish. If you feel calm enough and less anxiety and less reactive, you can even say that. But again, at least I might say, well, sometimes I have to be. And that's perfectly okay for me. Mom, you may not like that, but that's okay for me. And Nathan needs to, drive one of your cars. Fourthly, another way in which we may feel like we owe them, that we owe them total control. That's not up for discussion right now. Oh, really? I thought I was discussing that. They will just shut you down in terms of having a discussion. Well, I don't know that I owe them to be shut down about a discussion. Well, it's okay if you don't want me to talk about that right now. I think it's time for me to take my leave. You can't choose that color for your wedding. That's a horrible color. I've heard those many times. Who cares about your feelings? Just do it. We might hear from a narcissistic parent. Dad says, you want to celebrate our family Christmas on Christmas Eve rather than Christmas morning, like we've been doing ever since you were born. And we've always done that at our house. And you're saying you want to do it on Christmas Eve so you can do your Christmas with your family on Christmas morning and with your kids. Hell no, he might say. And again, learning to practice some responses to that. I understand that's a change to our family tradition. But since our family is growing up, maturing, and branching off, it is important we be willing to accept some changes in family traditions. Another example might be, I know you guys are very busy, but we want to see our grandkids, and you owe that to us. So don't be selfish. My parents would have had a fit if we only visited as little as you guys do. Wow. Powerful guilting and shaming. And again, we can work on responses. And in fact, if you want help with having more calmness, neutrality, and working on responses, I would suggest you take a look at the online program I have listed below. There's a free online training, but then there's a online program that I would suggest for you that you enroll in. And you might find ways you can begin to calm yourself down, be less reactive, and find and obtain a real self. Mom says, Martha tells me her daughter gets a babysitter to watch her kids so Martha and her daughter can shop and have a lunch on Friday. Now that's a family. Again, the narcissistic parent wants you to meet their unmet expectations and often dependency needs. Now that's a family. Mom needs you as her friend or to demonstrate to others how close and wonderful a family we have. Oh yes, I went out with my daughter last Friday and we shopped and we had a great meal. But I had to berate her and shame. She doesn't say this part. I had to berate her and shame her so that she would do that. So I could say, oh, we're doing that too. And that way she doesn't feel shamed when Martha and her daughter go do it. Well, Mom, you're not Martha, and Mom, I'm not her daughter. That's called differentiation. So, what can we do? And again, often these messages and expectations from your narcissistic parents shape our emotional and thought processes over the years. And it ends up shaping us. One thing we want to remember: when you feel guilt or shame from a narcissistic parent or a toxic family member, remember to stop and think, this is not true. And it also is not needed. It may be wanted, but it's not needed when it comes in the form of shame or guilt. When I have those feelings, that's where the light bulb goes on, and we go, oh, no, 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 no. And remember to think, stop, this is not true. For example, and I use this one often a lot, somebody might say to me, hey, Jerry, you are the worst therapist, you're the worst coach in the world. If it triggers some shame and guilt in me, I know it's not true. There may be other things we need to talk about, but this is not true. Because healthy shame and guilt don't work this way. Family dynamics, systems, feelings work this way. You can check out my program and learn a lot more about systems feelings. Systems feelings work that way perfectly, but not true shame and guilt. Secondly, don't try to change the narcissistic parent. We want to differentiate ourselves, and we want to change our emotional location. And that's what some of these responses I mentioned to you are about. Thirdly, focus on your own internal boundaries. If someone sends me a shaming or guilting message, whether it be a narcissistic parent or anyone else, I tend to ignore the content. I hope that you will subscribe to this channel. I hope that you will like and comment on this video. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day and be wise.